Today we're going to talk about cutoff saws, or what we sometimes call demo saws. We do use these from time to time for cutting various things on job sites. Uh, we usually use them with an abrasive wheel, but we need to have a conversation about them, because even though we may not use them all the time, we are going to use them some. Very often we use them primarily for cutting deck. So we want to have this conversation this morning about cutoff saw or demo saw safety. The first thing that we want to discuss is the wise work practices that should precede our use of the saw itself. And one of the primary things we need to discuss with regard to that is to inspect each saw before you use it. You need to make sure certainly that the blade is not cracked or chipped or warped. Also, you need to select the correct blade for material, the material and the conditions that are being cut. Match the saw RPM with the blade RPM. Make sure that whatever the saw RPM is matches the blade RPM. Then the machine guards, that is the belt and the guard blades, need to be secure and adjusted. And then verify the throttle and the stop switch are working as well. Also, remember that you need to add the fuel when the saw is cold. If you've been using the saw, let it cool down a bit before you try to refuel it, because if you spill fuel onto a hot demo saw, it's very, very easy to start a fire. Then while you're in the process of using it, you want to try to prevent kickback. A demo saw is very similar in the way it behaves to a chainsaw. So always keep two hands on the saw. Don't operate it with one hand. Also, don't cut above shoulder height. And then also, don't bend over the blade when you're in the process of cutting. Support the material that's being cut to prevent pinching or binding of the wheel. Make sure that whatever blocking you put underneath it guarantees that when you cut, the cut's going to spread apart, not pinch inward or fall inward. Then also, don't grind or bevel on the side of the wheel. Then also you want to release pressure on the cutoff saw as you reach the end of the cut, so that you are making sure that you can finish the cut smoothly. Review the owner's manual to understand directional forces on the wheel. The owner's manual is there for your education and to make sure that you're able to efficiently use the saw without causing any injury to yourself or someone else. Position your body to keep clear of the wheel and of any kind of reactive forces, any kind of kickback. Then also, with the demo saw, you want to work safely. Start the saw when it's resting on the ground. And by that, what I mean is don't drop start it. Put it down on the ground, put your foot on behind where the handle is. There's a spot there for you to rest your foot, and then start it on the ground. Wet cut. Also, when that's feasible, to reduce dust and to reduce energy of the reactive forces on the wheel. And then during transport, don't roll the blade on the ground. That can damage the wheel and cause a shattering later on during use. With regard to your personal protective equipment that you would be wearing, remember safety glasses. Also, you should really be wearing a face shield as well. That double guarding is probably more helpful, especially because demo saws tend to throw a lot of stuff out. A good pair of gloves, hearing protection, good solid work boots, and even as well, perhaps a mask to make sure that some of the stuff that the saw throws out, you don't end up sucking up. So these are all things that we want to consider when we're using demo saws. That's just kind of a general overview, but bear them in mind because we do use these from time to time, and it's important that we use them safely.